Here comes Deaxz and Quix.
Either
Coming
that or
at
you
your
learn
fast with a podcast. Break it down. Get it in your ears now fast. Quix, Deaxz, cast, pods.
Welcome back to Two in the Basement, a Dead by Daylight podcast. First off, EasyQuix and myself would like to apologise for the length between episodes, as the entity did seem to consume us over the last month. Don't stress though, because for now you have myself doing a couple of solo episodes, but I'm not exactly going to be solo. I do have a few guests to spice things up, and we are going to be talking everything Dead by Daylight, just like Quixie and I would. We have the Resident Evil chapter reveal and release coming, the 5th anniversary event, it's Pride Month, it's going to be epic. Dead by Daylight is doing so much for the next year. They've already released their roadmap. We're going to be covering that in the future episodes. So get really excited for this, because this is going to be the takeoff for Dead by Daylight. This is going to be the 6th year, and it's going to be insane. I'm lucky enough this week to have my good friend Nalopia to chat to me about some new content that has been scheduled to release for the Resident Evil chapter. There is some controversy between killers and survivors, but it wouldn't be Dead by Daylight if there wasn't. So get ready, strap in, and let's have a great episode. Nalopia, would you like to say hello, introduce yourself, and let's get started?
Hey, I'm Nalopia. You can call me Nal or Amber. I don't really mind which one. I've been streaming for about 3 years soon, coming up. And I've been playing DBD since 2016, on and off. And then have decided to come back full ball again. And I've always been a survivor main. Dabbling in killers sometimes.
Oh, that's awesome. I am also obviously a Dead by Daylight player, as everyone already knows, but I actually am the other side, so playing killer, as you would know, but I've actually recently transitioned to Survivor, and I actually call myself a Survivor main now as well, which I had to come to grips with. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to have both perspectives. I know I was in Scary's chat the other day, and you guys were having a good conversation because you play both sides, so...
I didn't realise you transitioned from killer.
Oh, really? Yeah, no, I was for 6 months, I only played Wraith. Like, that literally the only killer I played was Wraith.
Right.
But that was before I started streaming. And then as soon as I started streaming DBD, I kind of transitioned over to 80% killer, and like I was trying out Survivor. You should have seen me when I started Survivor. I literally couldn't look behind me. I would run into a wall and I wouldn't even be able to fix myself. I would just continue running to the wall until I died.
Yeah.
I was so bad. But yeah, I was hugely into killer. I thought it was great because I was in control of the game. I didn't have to rely on anyone else.
Interesting.
But yeah, now Survivor is the main thing that I play.
Interesting transition, coming to the bright side.
Coming to the bright, yeah, exactly, the light side. Normally the other way around. I guess one thing, because I've pretty much only recently, I would say I've recently found your stream, or been watching your stream consistently, over the last couple of months. So I guess one of the things that I always am interested in with people streaming is what actually you find, I don't know, what you find great about actually streaming. Because everyone says, I like, interacting with people or whatever it is. But there's always, I feel like there's always one or a couple of specific things where it's like, if you didn't have that, then it would be a little bit less for you. Is there anything that that stands out for you where you're just I absolutely love this about it?
My community, 100%. The conversations that people have while we're playing DBD, it's like DBD is this background noise, and
yep, I love that.
We're watching DBD, we're watching a TV show and having discussions, and I walk away from a stream or finish DBD being like, that was fantastic based on the conversations that we have. That's it. And they're not even conversations about DBD. They're just anything and everything.
That's awesome. That's so cool, because community is huge on Twitch in general. Doesn't matter what you're playing.
Yeah.
And I feel that, especially when I'm in your chat. Everyone is like, it's rare. You get a couple of questions about the game every now and then, but I feel like people are in there to be a part of that community and hang out and chat, like you said. Was it always like obviously, growing from smaller to the size you are now, like, were you always like, was it always kind of like that where you wanted to have that as the focus?
I didn't realize that I wanted to have that as the focus. I guess it took a lot of correction and like error. What do you call it? Error and
Trial and error, yeah.
trial and error. So when I first started streaming, DVD was always the main one, but I never stuck to it. If we got sick of it, if we had bad games, I would switch to Overwatch or Apex or another game. But
Yeah.
I was always in a group of friends in comms. So I started with the reason I started streaming because I thought me and my group were hilarious and people would enjoy that, which they did. But as I started gaining more people in the chat watching, it became more me muting myself so I could talk to my community while I was gaming. And it just got to the point where one day I was like, I think I need to pull myself away. I like solo survive and just chat with my community. And that's how I probably started to grow a bit more.
Yeah, that's awesome though. Like getting to that point where you actually noticed it, and I feel like maybe some people would miss the mark and just continue on that journey, and then maybe they don't grow to where you've got to.
So I think I've always been community focused because I knew as soon as it started growing, I started muting myself so that they couldn't hear my friends.
Yep. So they were the sole, like they were that was a game, but then they were also. Community was the sole focus, so you could always focus on that. That's awesome. And then I guess the other question I had, because obviously I've only watched you for a short amount of time, why you actually think people watch you? This is a funny question to ask people, but why people watch you play DVD? It's a question you probably have a tiny little answer to, or no answer to at all.
I honestly sometimes I don't know, because I understand I'm not the greatest. There are people out there that play 10 times better than me. I do think I'm good at it, and I love that people do tell me that I teach them a thing or two about looping or anything, and I love it. It does shock me because I'm like, again, there are people out there that can loop 10 times longer than I can. I think there has to be an element of entertainment for people to stay as well. And I think people enjoy watching me suffer because I solo queue. And I think people find some enjoyment out of me getting as angry as I do. But also then again, the interactions that we have. So it's a little bit of both. I think they come for the community, they come for the interaction, and then they're watching an entertaining show that I'm just getting angry at.
Well, if I had to say, I guess weigh in, I would say chalk it down to simply like that you're fun and you're entertaining. So that obviously doesn't cover everything that you just said, but when you go into your stream, you have a lot of fun, but you also have that community, but you're also, you've got that entertaining whether it's the rage or the screaming or whatever it might be. But then you also pull off these crazy plays. So I don't know. I think it's awesome, and it's a hard question. Even if you ask me why people watch me play DVD, I would be probably like, the same thing. I feel like I teach people stuff, but there are people out there that are better than me. So why are they not watching them? Yeah, it's just people feel comfortable.
But I've watched people that are 10 times better, but sometimes they don't always have that entertainment factor. And that's a big thing to have.
Well, they don't know how to talk. Like they don't know how to have that interaction, I guess, with a lot of people. Or it doesn't even have to be a lot of people. Even a couple of people that kind of just focus on the game or something. But that's fine.
You have to know how to be a streamer as well, because you're not, again, like to a lot of people, Dead by Daylight is their focus, whereas for me, it's not. My community is my focus. Streaming is first, DVD is second.
No, that's awesome. And is there anything that you do, I guess, outside of, because I haven't really ever asked you or heard, like, outside of streaming. I know you play games off stream. But like if you're completely away from your PC, obviously like hanging out with friends and stuff like that. Is there any like one, I guess, hobby that you have that doesn't involve like gaming or anything like that?
I used to be a pole dancing teacher.
I did notice that on your Twitch profile, because and then I was never. I think it stopped like because you used to do it on stream, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I wasn't around for that time, so that was like a fitness thing, but also teaching other people, obviously, to do it as well.
Yeah, so I did competitive gymnastics for 7 years. I stopped at the age of 15 and then, 14? Yep. 14. Had a 5-year break and realized I needed something similar because I didn't exercise. I think when you go from doing 15-hour-a-week exercises to nothing, I understand the break, but I think your body then catches up on you and says you need to start again. So it took about 5 years for my body to catch up. And I was like, I need something, but I didn't want to go to the gym, and saw my hairdresser pole dancing in a video, and I was like, that's sick. So took a couple of classes, and then, like a year later, I started competing. I did like 4, 5 competitions, and then 4 years later, packed in competing and became a teacher, and I started teaching for 5 years. So if I've probably had a year break now, but if I'd continued, this would have been the 10th year of pole dancing.
Damn, that's so cool. It's so different to what people think of when they go, oh, I want to work out or I want to stay in shape. It's like I've definitely seen a lot of ads for that stuff over the past couple of years for people advertising to go and do that stuff.
It is
do you
such
still
great strength.
Get to do it?
I do. So when COVID hit, we lost our studio, hence why I stopped teaching. And then they reopened, and to be honest with you, streaming became more of a focus because this is my career. Whereas pole dancing wasn't my career. It was my hobby. It was my career in teaching, but we're talking like a few classes a week. So to me, that's not a career that's going to sustain my whole life. So, that like a couple of times a week, and eventually I'm going to get too old that my body's not going to be able to do it. So long term, it's just wasn't sustainable. But there is studios that I can go to. I just haven't kicked my ass enough to get back into it. So, yeah. And then their times aren't within my wake-up times because I'm not usually awake till lunchtime. So, all that stuff.
The streamer life.
The streamer life. Literally going to bed late, waking up late, and just being a mess in between.
You make it work, though.
You do. I do different exercises just at home now so that I don't have to leave the house as much.
No, that's good. We've got to do whatever we can, especially through this time. So, I've badgered you enough about your own personal stuff. We can talk about some DVD now. I know I know you're dying to.
Yeah, totally.
So we have obviously the Resident Evil, the 5th anniversary event that happened. Did you watch the live stream?
Yes.
That they did?
Yes.
Did you watch it live or did you watch
I watched it live, yeah.
Oh, awesome. Nice. Me too. I
was in bed. I was in bed. It was 3 a.m. No, I got up at 3 a.m. I think I started at 1 or 2 a.m. for me. And I'd been out for dinner and I wasn't going to. And then I was watching a streamer that I watch play DVD, and they pulled it up and finished at 3 a.m. and I got out of bed because I was intrigued to see what they had brought to the PTB. Even though I told myself I wasn't going to.
Oh, so you jumped on straight away, pulled yourself out of bed and jumped on.
Yeah,
actually, I remember seeing your name pop up and I was like, what?
I was literally, I kid you not, I had this streamer up on my phone and I was like, when you're watching something but you're half falling asleep? And as soon as it finished, I was like, nah, and I got out of bed at 3 a.m. and I didn't think I finished till about 5 a.m.
Why does DVD have such a hold? Why does it have such a hold over us that it can force us out of bed?
I hate it. I guess because it's a streaming perspective as well that I see it as,
It's true,
Also, gaming definitely, but also like a streaming perspective. Every time they bring out something new, I'm so scared of the game dying.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
but you also don't want to miss out on something amazing that happens, and then you're late to the party, and it's like, yeah, we've already seen that amazing stuff. Like we don't care about it anymore.
Yeah.
What did you think? I guess are you a Resident Evil fan? Obviously, Resident Evil was announced for everyone that doesn't know. I'm not a Resident Evil fan either. I've watched a couple of playthroughs of like the newer ones, but I've never actually played the games before.
Cool. Okay, I'm not the only one.
No,
everyone's like
Resident
Evil. It's just never been a game that I've touched when I was younger. I mean, what was the year when the first one came out?
I couldn't even tell you. It was probably when we were young, like when we were when we were young.
And
so.
It just wasn't in my library of games, and I feel like you would have had to grown up with them and enjoyed them, but yeah, I never touched them.
No, I was playing sport games all through my childhood, so I wasn't playing.
Yeah, I was Halo
those kind of games.
Yeah.
COD and all the staple stuff.
Yeah.
Well, with the update, obviously there's heaps. We won't talk about everything because there's way too much to talk about. But in terms of, you did mention the PTB. I have been having a couple of conversations, both on my stream and in previous podcasts about the PTB. Just if you actually think do you think it's a good thing to have a PTB, or do you think it kills the hype? Because I'm a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. I think it does kill the hype a little bit. But it's interesting, I guess, to hear. Obviously, I used to think of PTB from the killer perspective. Obviously, you do as a survivor now as well. But I guess, how do you kind of view it?
I understand that it kills the hype, definitely. But it needs to be there because they have to have the feedback. However, the PTB just seems pointless because they never listen to the feedback.
Because they don't do anything.
Exactly. So I enjoy that the PTB is there, and I understand why it's there, and I think it's great that it's there. But the purpose of why it's there just doesn't seem to be acknowledged.
Yeah, I've definitely thought that. Like, you have the PTB there. We are giving you... They see play statistics and all that stuff in the back end, but there is so many content creators, big and small. There are so many people at YouTube, whatever, giving you opinions, and sure, they're not all right and they're not all going to be good for the game, but there is so much, and I feel like even the stuff that's echoed so loudly it just falls on deaf ears.
I mean, let's look back at when they made the Survivor animation changes. No one asked for it. When they made the HUD changes, no one asked for it. I still prefer the old HUD, just maybe updated with the pictures that they have now.
Exactly.
They made so many stupid decisions that no one even cared or wanted in it.
Yeah, for sure. I guess, I don't know, PTB for me is like, if they acted on it, I would feel better about them actually having the PTB. But for me now, I'm on the most part where I feel like it just kills the hype, and you jump in, you play the killer early. If you make up your mind straight away, you're like, I don't like this killer, or I don't like these survivors, you might never even touch that content.
The funny thing is,
DLC.
I actually don't touch PTBs. This is probably the first PTB I've been on in I don't remember. I don't do PTBs.
That's so funny because this is the first PTB that I've been on as well. Like,
really?
I don't touch them either because I don't want to spoil. I don't want to spoil. I like to wait and then have my genuine interactions in the game where people aren't. I played custom games in the PTB this time because in our oceanic, servers, it takes way too long to find games anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But custom games, I was doing the whole, Optdava type stuff where we were testing the perks out, and we were going through different interactions, and that was actually really fun to do. So I was like, okay, this is a fun part of the PTB. We get to try out the new map and try out this stuff. But in terms of changes, I just don't think there is enough done. We will see this time, because I feel like, I don't know, I think I have too much faith in the devs. My chat thinks I have too much faith in the devs.
Oh, definitely.
I think you think I have too much faith
Oh,
in the devs.
100% you do. Remember, their
I
perspective as well is money and player driven. So
Yeah,
they want
yeah.
more player base and they want to make revenue out of it. So they're always going to side that way rather than their current player base.
And my hope, the only reason my hope comes from, this is Resident Evil. They don't have to worry about money. The money, they're printing money with this chapter update. Like, there is no way that this isn't the highest selling chapter update and DLC that they introduced in the entire game for the next year at least. Because Resident Evil it's got a cult following, as we know. We feel like we're the only two people that have never played Resident Evil in the world. So I feel like maybe if they're a little bit less worried about money and they can actually do some meaningful changes, but that all remains to be seen. We can speculate until the cows come home about it. It does take me into another point that I've had in terms of actually adding content, because I did say to you on your stream that I think when they try, I think it's a good sign that if they're trying, even if it misses the mark, it's still good to see that they're trying and they're not just resting on that. Yep, let's make as much money. Let's rake it all in and screw the players. Do you think that it's good to introduce content even if it misses the mark, or it should only be added essentially if it's it's going to be great? Or obviously you don't know it's going to be great always, but are you happy with them experimenting, or would you prefer, because you said you're scared the game's going to die when they potentially introduce something that could be game breaking and then people just stop playing the game?
Yeah, I guess I already have that mentality, is because of how they handled things previously and what they do previously. Yeah. That it gives me no hope. It would be different if they introduced things and played around with things and actually listened to the community and I don't want to say the word cared about the community, but cared about the community.
Yeah.
Then when they did changes in the future, I think people would be more comfortable with it. But it's not that way inclined. I think a lot of us are always worried about what's going to happen. I hear other streamers just being like, are you excited for the new chapter release? And people are like, no, not really. I'm enjoying the game how it is now. I'm currently playing the game how it is now, because I know it's then all going to change in the next, over a week. So
yeah. I guess my thoughts are, we're not in the position we're not going to change anything. We're not, we have, I think, one Fog Whisperer in the Oceanic community anyway. But even then, I feel like, do you think that potentially getting people like, OTS or True Talent or people that know this game fully inside and out, getting them actually to behavior? I want to actually see these people. Obviously COVID, is a thing, but go to the actual studios and sit down, or even just get in a call with the properly with not the developers, but the actual the people that code the game and do that stuff. Obviously they're told all the stuff to do by behavior, the company itself, but I just feel like there has to be a way for them to get so much more input, because they have all these Fog Whisperers and they have all these people, and the Fog Whisperers don't exactly kiss the ass of the game. Most of them are very honest. I
watched someone who back in the day when DVD was a big thing and when they were streaming, they'd said that they had been invited to go to the behavior, headquarters, whatever you call that, and went with that mentality that they were going to give ideas and speak to the developers. And to their understanding, it seemed like the people that were developing or the people that had the ideas had their heads screwed on and had these ideas and had explanations as to why they couldn't do this or do that. And it got to the point where this particular streamer realized that maybe it's actually not the devs and maybe it's the management above them that they don't actually understand the game, but they're being pushed to do something. So the devs understand the game, but they're being pushed by management who don't understand the game to do something in particular, whether that's in a push in a way because of revenue or more player base or who knows. But it seemed that it wasn't the developers. It was someone else higher that clearly had no understanding, and they can't push what they want to develop and implement in the game. That's how
that's
it
so
seemed.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's how it seemed to them.
We all that's the first thing we go to whenever something bad happens. We're always like, developers are out of touch. The developers don't play their game.
And we do. We say that. We whinge about that. Yeah, but it just to him it seemed like it wasn't the developers. It was beyond that.
Well, I like to hear that it's obviously not great because there's still not change still doesn't happen sometimes, but it's interesting to hear. It's not surprising that the people in the suits that are up in their offices are the ones that are making the calls. Like, that's not surprising, but it is good to know that the developers, aren't exactly out of touch completely. That they actually do acknowledge and know how to play their game.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I've thought, I'm like, do they have an actual QA team? When those game-breaking ones come in, and they leave them for weeks on end, I'm just like, is there a person or a group of people that are actually playing this before it goes, or do you just go PTB, throw it out there, and then...
I mean, I've watched a developer play as killer, and I just kind of sat there and went, well, no wonder that sometimes things are handed on a platter to a killer, because if that's the way that you're playing, and if that's the way that you think Red Frank killers play, holy crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, like, terrible. Just terrible.
Well, that kind of leads perfectly into one of the main things that I wanted to pick your brain about is I guess what people, killer mains being handed this, or survivor mains being babied, or whatever the other side wants to say about the other side. So you did do a post on the forums.
Yes.
For DVD for the first ever time.
First ever.
And it was about the Resident Evil stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I read it, and as from both sides, I really, really enjoyed it. Like, I think it was well written post, and
Thank you.
tackled stuff. You tackled stuff that you knew that people were going to question you for stuff before you even posted it, and you tackled that stuff in your post, and you still had people tackle. So you still had people question that stuff. So it just shows you that no matter the prep that you put into your post, it doesn't matter. There's always going to be someone.
Part of me with some of the comments feels like they didn't read the whole post, because some of the replies that I saw were things that I had already answered in the post. So I feel like they just saw what they wanted to see, which was the title and the first part of it, and then they stopped reading.
No, that's selective.
Yeah.
Selective reading, or selective hearing, whichever way you want to say it.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the actual post, like, if you're okay with it. I was going to leave a link.
No.
I was going to leave a link also in the description of the podcast if people want to go and check it out.
Yeah.
But I guess we had a little chat about this before, but kind of we all know that voicing your opinion is never... you're never completely
You're
safe.
always going to get both sides, always, no matter what. I knew that. And I was prepared going in that.
So I guess kind of what was your experience, and was there anything that kind of was different to what you were expecting from posting on the forums?
I think the one thing I knew, but it was almost like heavily confirmed and very much like, wow, no wonder why. It's a very killer-sided forum, and survivors are honestly too scared to post things because they're just going to get beaten down by killers. And I can safely say I know that because I was speaking with another streamer. Actually, I think I've had 2 streamers, and I encouraged them to post on my post just because it would show encouragement from both sides so that we didn't just have killers and survivors. You know, it showed both, not heavily one-sided. And she turned around to me and said, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. And I asked her, I said, please. And she's like, I'm not doing it. And I had someone else go, oh no, there's no way I'm going in that. And I said, why? And they're like, I'm just going to have killers attacking me, my post. And it came to my realization that whole forum is majority run by killers and killer mains, and survivors are just too scared to post something knowing that they're going to get attacked. I mean, hey, I didn't put my proper name on there knowing I was going to get attacked. I didn't put my proper name down because I know how toxic people can be on there.
Okay, and you haven't had any flow on or anything like that? Like,
no, because
into stream or anything like that?
No, nothing like that.
Okay, good. That's good, because I would hate for that to happen.
No, and that was the reason as well why I'm not bringing that into my stream. At the end of the day, my stream is my stream, not Dead by Daylight. Yep. So I want that separate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
It feels like the whole comment section is just endgame chat of Dead by Daylight. That's what it seems like.
It is, yeah. and I knew the forum was very killer driven, but seeing that makes me like, wow, no wonder we get the changes that we want, don't want, and consistently have our perks nerfed as survivors when there's sometimes not a reason to.
Sure, yeah. So, as you've posted, does it, like, your experience, would this put you off posting if you felt strongly about something in the future? Or would you just be like, it's not? No,
I'd probably do it again. I'll probably do it again because I feel like there's not enough survivor voices in there. And to be honest, half the stuff in there, I probably stopped reading after a bit just because I've already lost a few brain cells reading some of those comments. Yeah. So I stopped reading after quite a bit, but I would post again, definitely, because I have a good ability to read up to a certain point and then not care anymore. And I just don't care. I've voiced my opinion. I've given it out there, and now I don't care.
Yeah, okay, awesome. No, that's really good. And I guess for anyone like that's listening and feels strongly about, you're listening to a Dead by Daylight podcast, so you obviously have some interest in the game itself. So if you are listening and you have thought about posting on the forums, even if as a killer, posting objectively and just, not just going into this cesspool of hate or, survivors do this or whatever. Like, obviously Amber encourages it. I encourage it. Just put your voice out there.
I did do a post as well, and I said if you disagree with it, I encourage you to do it as well. I encouraged both sides.
Exactly. So yeah, if there's people out there that have ever been on the fence, or you want to, show the devs that you are actively caring about the game, it doesn't always make a difference, but I think forum posts and that kind of interaction they do actually look at the forum posts because they're directly linked to their website. Obviously, you can look at Twitter, you can look at.
I encourage more survivors to be on it as well because there's a lack of them, and I understand why. But as long as you can just distance yourself, put your post, and walk away, then easy.
I'm really happy that you did it, honestly, because I think that you're a big voice in our community for the game.
I don't think that. I honestly don't think that, but that's really sweet. Thank you.
Well, maybe not officially, but I think when you talk about the game, you talk about it in a way of being passionate about it, but also objective. And I think that a lot of people struggle to talk about something passionately and continue to be objective. because they get so passionate that they lose their
the
brain
sight,
and and they just go and it's my way, or I can't actually hear your other point.
Yes.
Whereas I think you can hear the other points. You might not agree with them, but you can still hear them. And I think that's what killers don't do for survivors. Is they throw the tantrum, they spit the dummy, and they go, "I'm not even going to listen to what you."
Because it's
what
a
you have to say.
4v1. You know, at the end of the day, you have 3 other people backing you as a survivor, and as a killer, you're the only one defending yourself. But what killers don't
understand... Which is actually surprising. That there's not more forum posts then.
Yeah, exactly. But I guess what killers don't understand is, you know, sometimes our teammates are our enemies in game as well. And it's not... We have to rely on 3 other people's skills, whereas a killer, you have to rely on your own, and the only person you have to blame is yourself rather than your teammates. And I think that's a hard pill to swallow, so it ends up being a survivor's problem rather than a killer problem.
Yeah, no. Taking the blame thing is a huge thing. That's why I used to always play killer, because it was all in my control, and if I had a bad game, I knew that the survivors were either better than me, or I played badly, or whatever in between. Sure, everyone has their bad days where they say something bad, or, you know, whatever it might be about what the survivors did or whatever, but it's not a constant, you know, if it's not a constant thing, it's whatever. But yeah, it is so true that you are just you're 4 people, but you're not one hive mind. You're 4 separate people. Yes,
with
some people are playing together and you know, whatever, but you have different skill level. You have
different play styles, different
goals,
ideas, different 100%.
And some people go in to do totems. Some people go in to do chests. Some people go in and have no care in the world if they escape or if they help their team at all. But the killer, the one thing that all killers have in common is that they load into the game to not let survivors escape. Well, probably.
Majority of the time.
But I guess we can talk about what was kind of what was in the post. So one of the biggest things is zombies and new AI. So something that we've never seen in Dead by Daylight before. Actual, real, moving AI that is interactive. We see it on maps and stuff like that. But Victor was the closest thing Victor and Charlotte is the closest thing we had to 2 interactions happening at the same time.
Yeah.
I actually thought when Twins was announced that Victor was going to be AI controlled.
Yeah.
Or there was going to be some sort of thing like that. Maybe they weren't ready, or they decided it wasn't the way they wanted to go. But basically, if people haven't heard, there are zombies that are with the new killer Nemesis. There's, I believe, 2 zombies that will roam around the map and kind of walk around, and they can help. They essentially help the killer, but in a few different ways. So I found one of the ways when I was playing the PTB is the zombies were actually acting as a deterrent for me to do the generator, and I had 0 control over that. So I think the RNG random, you know, the randomness of it is something that is, I guess, you know, bad for the game because it takes another element of skill out of it. So and also makes it easy for the killer. So I think that's kind of what you were, one of the things that you were kind of mentioning in the post.
Yeah.
I kind of agreed with what you were saying in terms of basically that I have a quote here from the I guess from the post.
Yeah.
So looking at what survivors have to do. So you've written down what survivors have to do. So obviously, you know, generators, unhooking, mending, healing, running the killer, trying to conserve pallets, conserving resources, doing hex totems, opening the gates, finishing the generators, leaving the map. All of that happens at the same time with 4 people and coordinating.
And that's usually within a game that lasts about 8 minutes. So we have to do all of that in 8 minutes, roughly.
Exactly.
Games
right.
are roughly 8 to 10 minutes.
So now, with the addition of the zombies, now have to worry about zombies, so completely randomly generated AI walking around, getting in your way, and pushing off a generator. The pushing off generator thing was something that I actually thought was a positive thing when I initially thought about it, because
See,
it acts
that's
as a
the only
natural
time
slowdown.
where I'm kind of okay with that. I mean, I'm not happy with it because it's another slowdown perk. Let's view it as a perk, right? It's another slowdown for gens. Now, I'm not happy with it being a survivor main, but I can handle that. That I can deal with, because I'm like, well, it's another perk that stops the progression of gens. So that's the way I view that. However, in a chase, changes the whole game, because killers are no longer relying on their mind to outplay a survivor. Not that they rely on it, they don't. But I will give a situation. It happened 3 times to me. Now that's just too many times in a game for it to be an actual thing that's okay in the game. So I ran from the shack to the pig tree, and I was running him around it. Now you roughly get 3 loops around it before. So you always get 3 volts. So technically 3 loops, because that third volt, that window will block up. I probably got 2 rounds into the loop and I heard a zombie. And I'm oh no. And he decided to walk into my loop, and I had to change directions and I got downed. And that's not on me losing the mind game or running out of resources. I got forced to by not the killer himself, but an AI. That completely changes the game, and you're expecting a cult of Resident Evil players to come in, and you're expecting them to learn, how long's DBD been out? 2016?
5 years
5
now,
years experience of DBD and zombies, and you're expecting them to learn that, and you want them to stay. Not even the OGs of DBD want this or really want to stay. So why would you introduce that to new survivors?
Yeah, no, exactly. So I feel like a even less out of my control scenario. I was on the PTB and I was running away from the killer, and it was on the new police station map that comes with the Resident Evil chapter. And I was running down a hallway that was like a T section hallway.
I think we've had the same scenario. I think I know what you're gonna say.
So I was contaminated, and I ran around the corner, and I was like, okay, I've roughly figured out the map a little bit. I've played a couple of times. I know that I can run straight and to the left.
Yeah.
I ran straight, got through the doorway, bang, I got hit on my right by a zombie.
Yeah.
And I had yes, you can hear them, but when you're in chase, you cannot hear.
You're thinking
anything,
so quickly
basically.
as a survivor on what to do to get away. To add a zombie into that it's like you're supposed to have like a 50-50 on who would win, right? 50 to the killer for the mind game, 50 to the survivor for the mind game. And then, of course, with that palace and stuff, the resources eventually get chewed up, right? That eliminates that 50-50. You can't run into a zombie. That's it. It's a lose situation for survivors.
Well, the crazy thing about that, like the 50-50, is that when I ran through that doorway at that exact time, there was a 100% chance that I was going down.
Exactly.
And there was nothing that I could do about it.
Exactly.
So when that happened to me, that's when I was like, okay, the zombies that something needs to change. I'm of the mindset where I like that they're trying to keep the game fresh, and they're trying to
I do like the
add new things
zombies,
in.
but they need to be in a different aspect other than being an attack. In an attack aspect, because look at all the killers we have, right? Someone had this argument with me and they said, oh, well, think about Trapper. He stops your looping too. Yes, but that's his ability. Trapper has his traps and his M1. You're talking Nemesis has his 2 abilities. Zombies, his whip, and then his M1. So that's 3 attacks, whereas You have the Demogorgon, which has his lunge, his M1, and his teleport. Yeah, he's got 2 special abilities there rather than 1, but one's a teleport, not an attack. Like, you can't compare all the killers we have to this one, because all of them have either 1 special ability and an M1, or 2 special abilities in which one of them's a teleport and an M1. You look at Freddy. Freddy's only got an M1 and a teleport. That's it. So how did we get something that can down you in 2 separate aspects and then an M1 as well?
Yeah, and to top on that argument as well is trappers. I almost call him a trapster. A trapper places the traps
where
strategically
he wants them.
in
exactly,
areas.
Yeah.
He puts them there. Yes, he still has to funnel survivors there, which is one of the arguments that I saw, by the way, is the killers can funnel the survivor towards the zombie, but the killer sees the zombie. The survivor doesn't. And I can tell you what I was talking about before, when you're in a chase, the Nemesis chase music is really, really loud. And regardless of whether it's loud, you have to worry about where you're going, plan your route, and have the chase music, and have everything else going on. And then you hear a zombie out of the corner of your ear, and
then
you go down.
To that as
what
well,
are you meant to do?
People had mentioned that it would take skill to crowd control a survivor into the area you want with the zombie. Well, I understand it's not going to happen with every chase that you have. However, it's probably going to happen every 2 out of every 4 chases, because think about how many areas there are to do runs on a map, and there's 2 zombies. So usually on a map, you run a survivor in every single area and every single loop. So you're most likely going to have that happen. What is that? So there's 8 hooks in total, and then 12 for the kill. If you count how many times that the zombie's going to be in that area, and a particular survivor is going to want to run that loop.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Do we want or need more randomness in the game? Currently, we have generators that randomly in quotations, they have their different spawns, but they will be in different places every game. Corrupt intervention can spawn on. You can get a bad corrupt intervention as a killer where it's 2 on one side and 1 on the other side of the map. But that's the extent. I feel like you can get different pallets and stuff like that.
You can get different tiling of the map. There are good and bad tilings
that's the RNG.
of the map.
So do we want to add another? Because I think one of the main things you were saying is that it's another way for killers to just not have to do anything.
Yeah, pretty much.
You're getting spoon fed or handed something for just existing on the map. Another thing that has been introduced recently like that, I feel, not to this extent, but a perk is Starstruck. So something I've been struggling with recently is survivors get punished for simply existing on the map.
Yes.
When another survivor gets downed near you, and all of a sudden you're starstruck.
I never even thought of it that way. That's, again, it was another perk that I just went, oh yeah, another exposure perk, and I just took it in my stride. But I've never actually thought of it that way, and you're right. There are times when I've just been on a gen and someone's gotten down and been picked up and I've been exposed, and I'm thinking, oh, fantastic.
And it's 60 seconds. It's a long time. Like you get, like I say, existing, like you literally, we had something today where one of my teammates was about to open the door and I went down a decently far away from them, but they had their terror radius was just going to the door. And then that survivor got exposed for 60 seconds and I got hooked, and they were the only other survivor left.
Yeah.
And what are they getting? Why do they get punished for? That's not really a great example, but being on a generator and then randomly out of the blue it's like Starstruck and you're like, I can't even hear.
Yeah.
I can barely hear the killer's terror radius and this is happening. So I couldn't imagine zoning out for a second in a game and then all of a sudden a zombie's just on you. Because I think that they have a place in the game if they can if they can do a couple of tweaks. So
Yeah.
my I guess fixes, and a couple of fixes that I've seen some people say is obviously you can flashlight them. They get stunned for I think like 15 seconds or something, but you can't do anything. If they're in a 1-by-1 hallway and you flashlight stun them, you can't run past them. So they're essentially, they can't hurt you or do anything, but you can't run past them. So they body block you into a hallway.
Yeah.
I think that zombies should, I know it doesn't really make sense, but hey, killers lose collision when they hit you as well. So why can't zombies? I think that they should lose collision if they get stunned, so you can actually run through them, because then it avoids that thing of trapping you in an area.
Yeah.
Because especially on the new map, there is a lot of one by one corridors where there's not enough room for two people to squish by. So I think that could be, and I don't want to do Band-Aid fix. I want to have, I want it to be an actual thing where people go, okay, cool. So the zombies have collision. That makes sense, because that's a part of the game. Killers have collision when they hit you. You can run through them.
I'm not happy as well with the idea of pallets being the only way to get rid of them, and then they're able to respawn. The reason I say this is because we already have enough survivors that literally are clueless about the game that chew through pallets like they're lollies.
Yeah.
So why would you allow the ability survivors to give that ability to survivors to be like, hey, here you go, you can get rid of them with pallets. Yes, let's ruin our opportunity of escape by getting rid of our pallets. And there will be survivors out there that go, oh, but that's the way you get rid of them, and we'll use pallets, because they genuinely have no idea.
Yeah, I agree. People will throw them for literally no reason, and then now you're giving them a reason to throw them. So, 100%, I agree with that. Do you think, obviously, a fix for that is being able to, destroy the zombies or kill the zombies in a different way? I also think that having to have a flashlight, or obviously they're adding the flashbang, so yes, you can use a flashbang to stun the zombies as well. I feel like needing to carry a flashlight in as well every time, or needing to run a flashbang perk just in case you verse a nemesis, because the zombies aren't going to be in every game.
And that's such a pointless thing to do, because it's a waste of a perk if it's not a nemesis. You know what I mean? You don't run what's the perk to stop you from screaming with Doctor?
You don't run Calm Spirit just in case you verse a Doctor.
Yeah. You don't run particular perks to verse particular, you run a versatile build to hopefully enable you no matter what killer you come against. You don't use, again, I'm blank. It's so late, so my mind is blanking. The perk where you don't step in traps. Isn't there one? Isn't there? I could be completely wrong here. But isn't there one to prevent you stepping in traps? Is it for Trapper? I'm losing my mind.
There's what is it? Is it what Small Game used to be? They use it to alert you of traps.
Is that what it probably is?
I think so. I don't know that was I want to put that perk on. I'll run that perk just so I don't get stuck in Trapper.
Think about how many times we get Trapper. You're not going to run that. Exactly. Yeah. So why?
Even like Iron Will, if Iron Will was like seen as a spirit counter, you're not going to run Iron Will like just in case you get a spirit. Obviously, it's good against everyone, but it's that same mentality that Calm Spirit.
I run a build that is versatile that I use in every game, in every situation. That's how you want to be running your games. Otherwise, if you do it based on what killers you think you're going to get, you would lose way too much.
I mean, I guess in talking of solutions, do you think I've heard a somewhat elegant solution maybe to have the zombies be able to be crushed of the same way as like Victor?
Yes.
But it takes a little bit longer.
I like that idea. Again, I just come into the thing of it's not going to help. That's not going to help us in a chase. Like if we're in a chase, I'm not going to stop and, kick a zombie. I'm still going to get down. My kind of suggestion was it would seem more appropriate that they infect us because you've already got a killer, attacking us.
Who's basing the killer is like basing its attacks with its tentacle off the infection. So it would make sense.
And remember, his tentacle, I get it, like he grows the more you get infected. So why would you not make it the zombies infect us and that's how he grows? And then, when you're infected, his whip also, you take a hit from his whip. So make the whip an infection, but also make the zombies just an infection rather than an M1. That way, they're making you grow faster. And then that way I'd be happy with then 4 zombies because at least they're not attacking me. But you'd grow your ability a lot quicker having 4 on the map infecting us all.
Yeah. What about even, I guess something they could stack on top of that because obviously, we were talking about how zombies can body block, a hallway, that kind of thing. That would still happen obviously if they can infect you. You're just going to be running into them and they're still going to body block you. So I think potentially you could stack on top of your idea and maybe if you're already infected, they hit you. If you run into them, they hit you and you become hindered or something. So like a slowdown that potentially Freddy has, with his blood pool. Obviously that sucks because again, you still have that random element where we talked about where we went around the corner and we got hit.
Yes.
And we had no idea the zombie was there.
Yeah.
But I like your idea. It's just with, it's that collision thing again where I find that I reckon I would get body blocked by a zombie more than it would actually kind of screw me over, hitting me around the corner.
Yeah.
I think that getting farmed into a chase where I'm like, okay, the only way I have to go is turn around and run back towards a killer. Now, this game isn't realistic, but when would that ever be realistic? When would you ever do that?
Yeah.
If you were running away from a deathly killer, when would you ever run back towards them?
Exactly.
So it's a hard one, and remember that we are talking about we're talking about a PTB, so we're talking about complete speculation we're speculating on stuff that is still a work in progress and that isn't finalized.
Yeah.
But if we don't talk about it and it stays in the game, then we need to have our opinions and have ways to talk and hopefully make changes because I think we both are on the same page in terms of trying things and adding things is good and it's good to try that. But even as a killer player, and I am going to be playing Nemesis and playing a lot more killer when the killer does come out. But even for me, I pretty much laughed every single time in the PTB when a survivor just randomly went down to a zombie.
Yeah.
Because they would be across the map and I'd be in chase with someone and I would be like, I feel like I'm Freddy. I'm in chase with 2 people right now.
Yeah.
But I'm actually in chase with 2 people
Yeah.
and they can actually down someone.
People...
Like Freddy is technically in 2 places, but he's not actually,
And people, I saw in the process, some people were laughing, being like, oh, if you get downed while not in chase, that's, on you by a zombie. I'm thinking, but some people aren't that smart enough that in that scenario would happen, There are times when I probably sacrifice myself just to get a final gen done if a zombie was up my ass and I'm 99 on a gen and he's about to touch me. I would sacrifice myself to finish a gen for the greater good of the team. But people don't always have that mentality. So again, you're incorporating...
And we have to remember, there's only 4 vials. There's only 4...
I thought there's 5, or is it 4 vials?
There's 1 for each survivor that's on the map.
Yeah,
and
right.
The killer, Nemesis, has a add-on that removes one of those vials, and there's only 3.
Fantastic.
So you could imagine that if the zombies stay the way they are, you are probably going to be infected, because it's like plague,
Yeah.
You're infected the whole game, but if you cleanse, you are safe. You don't give Nemesis obviously a strong power by healing yourself, but if you stay contaminated the whole game, then you are vulnerable to those zombies.
Exactly. It's funny how with plague, I heard some people say, oh, they're like, this killer's like the plague. No, not really. With the plague,
Yep.
you have to cleanse to give her her ability. If you don't cleanse, you don't give her her ability, which a lot of survivors I come across don't actually understand that concept. You don't cleanse with the plague. It eliminates her ability and then she has to M1 you, which is what you want to force killers to do. And eventually they're going to catch you with the M1. You know, bloodlust plus their percentage speed over you plus lack of pallets and resources. But with Nemesis, you do want to cleanse, so you stop giving him his tearing up. And wait, does he actually tear up? What if you stayed sick? Does he still tear up from that, or if you cleanse and then get hit again, that's how he gets his tearing up?
So anytime he hits you with his, my understanding is anytime he hits you with the tentacle, he gains a small bit of like power for his tearing up.
Right.
I don't think he has to like recontaminate you to get the extra power.
Right. Okay. See, either way, I guess with the cleansing with survivors, you get that upper hand of if he hits you with his whip, you then have a free hit. So, in my eyes, again, I don't think I know too much about his tearing up, but in my eyes, cleansing with him is a good thing. But yet they've given so many little small vials or antidotes. Yet with plague, you shouldn't cleanse, and she has a shit ton
That's
where
infinite.
you can cleanse. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, you load into a game, 3 of you get contaminated super quick. The killer's got the add-on and there's only 3. And then all of a sudden you have 3 people that have used the vials and you've got none left. So for the rest of that game, you are contaminated and you are vulnerable to a zombie hitting you out of the blue, or, you know, obviously, you know, getting the tentacle attack, which is fine because that's part of it. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what that is like, and what changes they make from the PTB. Because I don't think despite what you might think, I don't think you're the only person that doesn't like the addition of the zombies.
And I don't think I am, but I just don't think enough people have spoken up about it, so I doubt that it's going to be changed. And I've had some people comment saying, oh, people have wanted the last, I can't remember, he's wanted people like the masters, like Legion masters. Is there like a
because Legion is technically 4 people.
Yeah. Shit, they want the Legion masters all to have an AI. And I said,
I did read that.
I said, if you think that you need an AI to help you get kills, then Killer is not for you.
Yeah, you should be either trying to get better or maybe...
Yeah. I don't play Killer. And when I do, I go up against an array of people because I'm only in green ranks as Killer. And the teams that are not good and coordinated, I'm 4King every time. Unless someone gets the hatch, because I'm not one of those that will slug to make sure no one gets the hatch. I want to at least give the last survivor a chance. Yep. But when I do go against a good team, and I've had I think recently of this particular Nia that absolutely ran me, but I still had a 2K. A 2K game that's your game. That's the average. That's what you should be averaging, a 2K. But people aren't...
Yeah, well, that's a win.
That's a win. That's a win. 2 survivors out, 2 survivors dead. That's how the game is to be balanced. But people are losing that vision and thinking that the only way to win and the only way it's a 50-50 fair balanced game is if they're getting 4Ks 50% of their games.
Yeah, exactly right. So, I mean, again, I will link we can't obviously, you know, read the whole entire thing because it was a decently long post, but I guess make sure you read the post because a lot of the stuff we're talking about is in there. Everything we're talking about is in there. But yeah, it is super interesting to see what they're going to do from here going forward, and if they manage to have any kind of, I guess, fix or change or kind of. I don't think Nemesis will come to the live game exactly the way he was in the PTB. That I can almost say for sure.
No, he'll
I do
probably
think
get buffed.
that there will be. You reckon he'll get?
Oh, always the way.
I mean, probably. But I guess obviously we've been talking for like an hour now, and it's getting late for both of us, so I don't want to keep us all night. But another thing that they had introduced is they've revamped the whole tutorial system, and they've added bots
Oh,
in.
yeah, I need to have a look at that because I've not.
It's actually really cool.
Have they already gone that? Is that already live?
It's not live. It was in. You could do it in the PTB and give
Right.
it a crack.
Right.
I didn't do it, but I watched someone do it. The survivors are pretty good in the killer when you're playing killer and you're playing against survivor bots. The survivors are better than a lot of survivors that we play with.
Oh, God.
And that's not even a joke, which is kind of sad.
I know.
I was watching a survivor mind game a pallet against a bot survivor was like mind gaming a pallet against the person who I was watching play killer. Not very well, but they were reacting better than a lot of people.
Yes.
So I guess my question is, do you think that potentially with the addition of the bots or the AI zombies, the AI tutorial mode, do you think that there's room in DBD for a training mode or something to build on custom games that's not just your friends? Potentially going in there and being a new player or being a player that just wants to improve and having a game where you can play against.
That's not a bad idea. I mean, when I've got into practice, I've had to go into custom lobbies with someone being the killer and us practicing that way. So
yeah,
I think that that's a fantastic idea.
Like similar to COD, on COD you can have, veteran bots and rookie or whatever they call them, and then they respond in different ways. Obviously, programming of bots is not super easy because you don't want them to be crazy.
No.
But I think that I feel like maybe in the future that it's going to open the door for a training mode, which I think will do a lot for the game. And I think the only worry that I have with that is that people will spend all their time in the training mode because they're too scared to go out to live because they are doing really well in the training, which is why some games stray away from like doing training modes because people get stuck in there and they just go, well, I'm happy here. Even though I'm not playing real people, I still get my dopamine hit by killing the bots and stuff. But yeah, I just was wondering if that was something that you had even like thought of,
I
or
hadn't
if
even
that was
thought
something
of
that was
that.
even on your radar at all.
No, hadn't thought of that. I guess I think I said earlier I started DVD in 2016. I started in 2018. Yep. DVD came out in 2016. I guess because...
You've still been playing it for longer than me, like 2 years. I've only been playing for a year and a half, so you've been playing.
The funny thing is, though,
double.
I'm pretty sure your devotion's higher than me.
I definitely have less of a life than you and have more hours.
Well, I had many breaks. I didn't give DVD the full all. I was always on off with DVD. So
yeah, no. When I found it, it was like I love this game, and I have played maybe 4 other games in the entire time that I've like legit. That is not like
I wish you could have.
I've only played them 4 times, but
I wish you could have experienced DVD back in the day.
I've watched videos and I've watched old stuff, and
it was fun.
It looks.
I've had to say this. I have never had to sweat so much in my life. Back, I would say literally 2 years ago, DVD was never a sweat zone. Even like maybe push it a year and a half or a year ago. I'd say
I agree.
Within the year, it's just been, I've had to train myself to be better so that I have somewhat of a chance. And even then, we're talking for someone, I'm a solo queue. I'm not in a Swift. I understand being in a Swift, a comm Swift is definitely such an advantage, and I understand that, but I mean, you don't go... I feel like there is not that many out there that people go against. I'm pretty sure I went against the comms group and I still got a 2K. So, that's still a win.
People will just look for an excuse for why they lost. But you're really good at segueing me. This is the last thing that I'm going to to talk about.
Well, I have something to talk about that I feel like that I maybe just want to touch on as well. But anyway.
Oh yeah.
Continue.
No,
You go first, and then.
Because you were talking about sweating, and the other quote that I had from your forum post, was that you invited your friend to join you on DBD as she hadn't played in years, and she turned to you and said, "DBD just isn't fun anymore. I just have to sweat."
Yeah.
And then you said, "I think some are losing. For some, we are losing the love for DBD because at some point the fun disappeared. Sorry, and it's just a sweaty game."
Yeah.
Obviously, we can agree on that 100%. We don't even have to discuss that. The thing I want to ask is, just a small thought. Do you have any ideas? How do we, not us, but how does the game, what can we do to, make the game fun again? Like, what do the devs have to do? Is there a different mode that they have to add in?
I'm unsure. I don't think adding another mode in, like, people have been like, they need to do like a ranked and unranked. There is not a big enough player base for that to happen. And the people then that are very good going into the non-ranked, how unfair that would be. So I understand that there's that there should be one system and only one system only that ranks us. Otherwise, if we have two, you'd be waiting rather than 5 to 7 minutes for a game, or 4 to 7 minutes for a game. You're waiting 10 plus because people are in different modes. And secondly, then those people that are very good at it abusing the newer people in casual mode. So I don't think that there should be any mode or anything different added to it. I kind of feel like, I don't know, this sounds silly, but I always think about, I'd love it if DBD went back in time for like a week and just showed people what it was like back in the day. And I feel like maybe it'd show it'd show more people to complain less because of how it used to be. Because I feel like people get complacent and then they want more change and more change and more change. And you think, look at how DBD used to be back then and people still made it work. So why do you continue to complain about it now? I would love a week to go back to the old basics. And I don't know, I feel like that would just be so fun.
I think there's I can't think of, there is one I know off the top of my head, but it's not asymmetrical or like game like DBD, but I feel like they're, maybe even like Call of Duty or something. I feel like they have done that where they do exactly what you just said. They have an event where they go back to, grassroots or whatever, and they have guns or something. They have, whatever it is from back in a time where it was different.
Yeah.
My example, so there's I play not as much, but I used to be big into a game called Hearthstone, which is a collectible card game based on World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
They have tavern brawls, so they're special weekly events that happen where they have like fun different game modes and stuff, but they're separate. And they have a thing where they actually bring back old cards that were nerfed or whatever, and they let people just go crazy with them.
I think that should happen for a week. This is what
used to happen. This is the craziness that used to happen.
Oh my god, imagine if that went in DBD. Like, that would just be the coolest thing ever. I feel like that whole week would just be such a fun week. Oh.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be every week, like, to do that, or it can just be a one-time thing. But I definitely agree that for the average player, I wouldn't consider yourself or me an average player. I think for the average player, like your friend that you asked to come and play, it wouldn't be fun for them to jump on the game.
I think she did one or two games and she just went, nah, I can't do this.
No.
I agree. Yeah. Like, I find different amusements now in the game that make it fun for me.
Yeah.
And that's...
Oh, for sure. And I mean, I think I've talked to you about this. In the last year, I've taught my mum and my two sisters to play this game. And one of their fiancés, I've taught them from scratch.
Your mum plays as well?
My mum almost plays this game more than I do.
Have I ever been in a match with her?
No, she's not up. She's not like hasn't climbed the ranks just yet. But we're getting there slowly. She's good. She's she doesn't panic as much anymore, but she just loves the camaraderie, the friendship of playing. She's met so many cool people, and she comes to me and says like, I met this this player, and they said the end game chat, and they were like, you did really well, and then they added me, and
That
then
is
we
so
played some
cute.
Survive games together, and I'm like, that's amazing.
That
like
is so
that's
cute.
that's your average Dead by Daylight experience.
Wait, there's
so.
wholesomeness in DVD. What?
Yeah, but it's way down. We don't see that. It's beaten down. But yeah, I've taught them to play in this environment, and I've had them, especially my sister's fiance. I taught him to play killer, and for the most part, and he was like, I had so much fun when I was green ranks, purple ranks.
Yeah.
And he's like, as soon as I got to red ranks, he's like, the fun just dissipated for me.
Yeah.
He's like, I got abused. I got yelled at. Like, he streams a bit as well. He's like, people came to my stream, even if I didn't have Twitch in my name. He's like, they found, they would search it up or whatever.
Dang.
And he's like, it just loses the fun.
Yeah. Because the top players are the ones that are... There are some toxic people in the top... Yeah, and they take things to the extreme, and it's so inappropriate.
So yeah, I agree that I think there is something that they could do and focus on in terms of it doesn't have to be taking us right back, because obviously there's mountains of code they probably have to do for something like that. But just something, there has to be something other than just like, yep, we'll slap a ranked mode in, or we'll do this. There has to be something to keep people, because the Resident Evil chapter, the whole reason we're talking about this is going to be, the Resident Evil chapter is going to be the biggest test for Dead by Daylight in so many good ways, but also so many bad ways, because this is going to show you're introducing a whole new player base, as you said, and they said on their live stream, they want people to take care of these new players. They're matchmaking right now. If these new players get into lobbies with people that don't take care of them, they're going to quit the game. They're not going to play anymore.
100%.
And this is the part that scares me, is we have to take care of those new players, but we can't because we're not at their ranks. I almost want to make a new account when the Resident Evil chapter comes out and play and just take people under my wing and like show them the game, because I feel like they're just going to get beaten down and they're going to get chewed out.
Oh, dang, you're
and...
nice. I'd like to make an old account just so I can have fun with
But yeah, like I feel like it's going to be a huge test, because if they could stay and it could be great and it could be amazing and all these people could just become regular players. Like you were talking about numbers before. On Steam, Dead by Daylight at the moment it's 6 a.m. for me and like 4 a.m. for you. It has 53,000 people playing right now, but that's because it's
morning in America,
daytime, and it's exactly.
Yep,
but that's just Steam.
At roughly like our time, my time at like 8-9 p.m. It's at 45,000. So I'm a bit early. It's like 38,000.
Yeah, so there definitely is not enough room for splitting the player base. But I think that number, when the Resident Evil chapter does release, I think you're going to see that number skyrocket, and there's going to be 80, 90,000 players. I think I have really, really huge sights for how high the game's going to go player-wise, but I don't think currently the way the game is that they're going to retain even a quarter of those people. I think it's just going to come back, and it's just going to be the same.
It'll be a hype and then a drop down.
Which happens, and you can expect that.
Because nothing has changed in terms of the base game itself.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's still toxic, it's still sweaty, and it's still a mess.
Yeah, exactly. But we love it for some reason, and we hate ourselves for it.
Yes.
guess.
Quickly, this could be quite elaborated, and I'm hoping that we can try and like nut it because I don't want to keep you too long because we've been going for like nearly an hour and a half. So I'm still happy. I'm still happy. I'm fine.
Yeah. Okay, well let's hear it.
The perks that have been introduced.
Okay. Yeah. No, I was going to talk about this, but I wasn't sure how deep you wanted to go into it. So I'm happy to talk about them.
We can skim over them.
Yeah.
So it might.
I feel like skimming is not good for us.
Might get into a bit more than that, but we'll see how we go. Personal opinion of the perks, a lot of them are just old perks or perks that we already have renamed and rejigged into a different perk. Totem perks, healing perks. The only two ones that I can see that are somewhat okay is the grenade one. What is it? Flashbang?
Flashbangs is the one where you drop the flashbang.
But you'd have to be running, in a smart perspective of your build, you'd have to be running a locker build for it to make it worthwhile and not running an item. And you got to know how to use that flashbang because it doesn't happen automatically. You throw it and then it bangs. So killers, I'm assuming, can look away. I didn't get to play around with it too much, but I saw how it worked.
Similar to
a firecracker.
It's basically a reskin firecracker, and I get what you're saying.
Yeah, so it's a delayed, and again, you might not get it. Whereas, if that's the case, I would just bring in a flashlight where I had more control over it. You want to have perks or situations, or items that you are more in control of. That flashbang is less of a control than a flashlight.
Yeah, and then, exactly, because you spawned with that flashlight. You're in the game.
Yeah. Then the second one is the gen perk that.
Is that the blast mine?
Yes, where you can trap it.
Yeah. So that's the blast mine one where if you've done if you've worked on it for 3 seconds.
Yeah, 6 seconds.
You can put a trap on it.
Yeah.
Or 6 seconds. Yeah.
6%. Sorry, 6%. I think it is.
Yeah, I think it's 6%, and then you have to be on it for 3 seconds before you can put the trap down. You can't just instantly put it down.
Right. I can see that working, but again, situational perk, like end game and the killer's seen and your gen's nearly done. You can trap it and he'll get stunned. He'll still be able to hit it, but...
I don't actually see the point of it. I'm not going to lie.
Well, you'd have to,
it confuses me a lot.
You'd have to be running a gen build, though. Again, no, these perks that are given are either absolutely useless or situational perks, which, again, you don't want to run situational perks. You want to run a diverse build that is going to help you and that you use every perk in every situation. Unless you're memeing it, then that's a different scenario. And so none of these perks that were introduced are meta-changing or game-changing, as I believe, and again, don't, correct me if I'm wrong, because it was 3 a.m. in the morning when this was all going on. They said that they would be giving us things that are game-changing. I do not see anything in that scenario that's game-changing other than the zombies.
Yeah, that's exactly what they were doing. They were, they were hyping it. Obviously, they're going to hype it up, but they were saying, this is for survivors. This is going to be big.
Again, another thing to add to what we have to think about and we have to do and we have to sweat about. And then you look at the killer perks, and I'm not too fussed with them. Just the aura revealing one. Again, another aura revealing perk where killers don't have to work as hard at the start of a game. And I've seen it happen before. That perk in the hands of a nurse, and a good nurse, holy fuck.
I've had some people literally tell me, they're like, that's the aura reveal perk at the start of the game. They're like, you're basically handicapping yourself. You only have 3 perks for the rest of the game. I'm like, what if the game doesn't last the rest of the game because you know where everyone is?
Exactly.
Like, as you said, a good nurse, a good Billy, even like a good Blight. Someone that can traverse the map quickly. They get such a foothold on the game. It's like people say to me, I don't bring Ruin because it gets cleansed in the first 5 seconds. But if it doesn't, and it stays there for 2 minutes, it gives you such a foothold in the game. This is a foothold at the start of the game.
Because at the
doing
start of the
nothing.
game, killers have to work to find the survivors. That's the point of the
Yeah.
game. Now, that's eliminated. I put this on, I see what the survivors are, I go chase my first survivor. They have eliminated time for survivors to even go and find a gen.
Yeah, I can watch a survivor get into a locker because they're afraid that I'm going to spawn near them.
Yeah.
And I can go into that locker.
How
and
long
grab
does
them.
it appear for? 7 seconds, is it?
7 seconds, yeah.
That's a long time. I feel like people don't realize that 7 seconds in DBD world, that is everything. Imagine 7 seconds spawning right next to the killer. And you go on a totem and shit, Myers is there or Nurse is there. You know what I mean? That's... Oh.
And that's the thing, you just mentioned that, like, and I think this is it's good for these killers like Myers, and I think it helped because Myers is people might think he's strong because they can't play against him properly, but Myers is super weak. Like he's basically an M1 killer, and he can be played around really, really easily for people that know what they're doing. With people that don't, obviously he takes advantage and he destroys them. But for those people that might need a little bit of help at the start of the game. Sure, it's great for those killers because it gives them. But
even then, exactly the time at the start of the game is the time that the killer needs to find us, and time for us like that perk eliminates time. And we always need more time. We're talking seconds. Like those 7 seconds, people are like, oh, it's 7 seconds. No, those 7 seconds are everything from survivors finding a gen, getting in the game, finding a gen or a totem or whatever their objective is in their mind, to a killer appearing there and they're already in a chase within 7 seconds of entering the game.
Yeah, exactly. Quixie and I have a running thing about 5 seconds because I always say, what does 5 seconds, what difference... People in our everyday life, what difference does 5 seconds make? Probably nothing.
Nothing. DBD?
But in DBD, 5 seconds can be the difference between
you escaping.
Winning and losing.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. That's like when they introduced the skill check as the hook second, like the last hook struggle. I don't like it. And a lot of people were questioning me why. Because you've given the killer seconds to be able to find the hatch before you allow yourself to die for your teammate to find the hatch. And
I've
very valuable seconds. Very valuable. I've been able to let go of the space bar and die instantly and the survivor get a hatch because I want my teammate to get out, versus I have to wait now, 4 or 5 seconds for 2 skill checks to come by. Before I die, remember, you've got to wait for the die animation to finish, then before that hatch opens. It's one of the worst things that was introduced because we just lost another way of controlling the game.
Yeah, exactly. And sure, I do like the fact that, I can just hit a skill check instead of having to spam a button 100%. But I struggled to kill myself on hook today when I was playing. Like, I was the second last survivor, and my friend who was running around, I was like, okay, well, I'll kill myself so that they can get hatch. And a skill check came up and I missed it, and then I feel like another skill check didn't come up for so long, and I was like, is it timed between, is there an actual set time?
I don't actually know
because it didn't feel like it. It felt like it was just coming up whenever it wanted, and I was like, no, I want to die. I don't want to be here. Same thing with this is, obviously I don't encourage people to want to, want to get out of a game early. But there was that play game that I was talking to you about before we started. Like, I wasn't enjoying myself. I wasn't having fun. And I said, I just wanted to let go on hook, and I wanted to end my stream and just stop. But the skill check didn't come up, and my teammate came and saved me, and I had to continue playing out the rest of the game.
Yes.
And I shouldn't quit, and I should think about my teammates. But sometimes you just want to stop. Like, I just didn't want to continue the game, and it forced me to. Like, I was literally forced to. So, that perk, the 7 second perk, I think, regardless of whether you only have 3 perks for the rest of the game, killers can win with 0 perks. I think it's super strong to know where where all the survivors. Do I think it's overpowered? I don't think it's overpowered, and I don't think that it should be like they should remove it from the game or anything like that. But I just don't think that what you're saying. I don't think that the survivor perks are on par with killer perks.
Exactly. Because I don't see myself introducing any of the perks into my build. In fact, my whole build is based on the free perks that are given and the main survivors that were given in the game. My whole build runs off theirs. And again, nothing's meta changing yet. What was the last chapter? The Trickster one. And you have Starstruck and Crowd Control, which I kind of see more often than not used by killers, but you don't see any of the other perks used by survivors. I never see their survivor perks being used. And again, this chapter will be the same. We got given 6 useless ones. It's not meta changing that I will rarely see, and I'll probably see that aura revealing perk pop up every now and then. So
no, I had the same thing where I was like, so I might slot flashbang in to my build, if I don't have any flashlights on that person, or if I, if I'm going in with a group of friends and we're all running a flashbang or something like that, like maybe I'll slot it in, but it's not going to make me change my regular build that I play with.
Yeah.
It's going to be stuff that my stream goes, hey, you should play with, you should play this, like they're going to redeem the perk and be like, hey, you should use this perk. It'll be funny. But for me, I completely agree that the killer perks for a long time haven't been on the same level as the survivor perks. I mean, all you have to do is look at was there the survivor that came in with was it Felix, the survivor that came in with Blight? I think that they were together. Yeah. But like that was the only Desperate Measures is a Felix perk, and that's actually a good perk where the more people are injured, the faster the heals are. But Blight got Undying, and like adding that to Ruin and stacking that with other perks. Yes, they changed the way it works, but those two the perks measuring up against each other. I haven't actually thought about it a lot, but now that I think about different DLCs and stuff like that, the survivor perks have always been lesser.
Yeah.
Than
then
the
any
perks,
time that they might be meta changing or good, they get nerfed. Every time.
Yeah. That Blast Mine one, I can't even see a reason why I would ever want to stun a killer that kicks a generator.
Yeah. And even then when he kicks it still regresses it.
Yeah, if he has pop, it still pops. Like it doesn't
stop anything other than stun and give you time to get away, which you're going to anyway. So if he's going to kick it before he chases you, it'll help
immerse people who don't focus and look for the killer when they're on a gen, and they go, "Oh, the killer's coming," and they quickly put a trap there, and then they hide, and then it goes off and they run away. Like I don't think it's gonna help. And the other one is there was actually a one perk that I did think I could potentially slot into my build, and that was the Jill. Her name's Jill, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
At the survivor, where you are 50% healed when you come off the hook. I think that's actually a really cool. I think it's a cool perk.
Really, I think it's so useless.
I think I think it's a cool perk because you can combine it with other builds to make like an interesting build. Like we combine it with Solidarity, like Jane's perk, where you've healed 50% of yourself when you heal someone else. So you come off the hook and you heal someone else, and then you're fully healed. I don't know. I thought it was a cool idea.
It's all situational.
That's building a build around it for sure.
Exactly. And then even then you need, if you're like a lot of people would see that perk and go, 40% great, and then I'll run like self-care or something. And I'm like, you've wasted 2 slots right there off the bat.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was actually thinking. Having that is going to potentially you are going to see more self-care because people go, well, I'm basically 50% healed, so I may as well self-care. It's going to cut my time down in half. It was one of the perks that that as you said, nothing is meta changing. I think even for killers, apart from the aura reading one, the other perks are kind of meh that Nemesis has. Like, they're not going to be meta breaking or used that much, I don't think. And I don't even think that the aura one will be. I just think that it's going to be devastating for really, really good killers when they use it.
Yeah.
But I think they've made it in mind with survivors that, because they know, and I think the reason they've done this is because they know they're going to have a bunch of new players, and they've tried to introduce a bunch of semi hand-holding perks that aren't strong but help survivors when they're new. Like the one that shows, this is like reverse surveillance for a survivor. I don't care about seeing a generator that's regressing.
Yes. Pretty much.
It shows me where shows me where a gen is.
I ran that perk. I didn't even use it once. I just that was dumb.
Because if I'm new, yeah, sure, I don't know where the gens are, and yeah, maybe it's great that I can go over and find a generator because I have no idea. But if I've played this game for a certain, 20, 30, 40 hours, depending on how observant you are, you know the map and you know where the gens are spawning, so you know where to run. And if you're paying attention, you know that the killer is in a certain area. Oh, he just hooked someone and he ran to an area and then he ran away from that area. I wonder if he has a pop, then he probably popped a gen over there.
Yeah.
I don't need a perk to tell. I don't need a perk to tell me that.
Yeah.
But new players, they go, oh, I didn't know there was a gen over there. I've been running around for 2 minutes and I haven't done anything. I'm gonna run over there. And then the killer's gonna wait. The killer's gonna be like, oh, I wonder if any people are running this perk. Wait next to the gen, and then bang, they're just gonna take advantage of it. So. Yeah, it must be hard for them to bring perks in for survivors because of the kind of outcry that they receive for things like decisive and borrowed time and stuff like that from killers, and it's not the perk itself, but the way it gets kind of used in and adapted into the game. Because I feel like they are really scared of what you said, bringing in meta-changing perks that are actually strong, but then they bring them in and then they get nerfed to the point where they don't get used.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's going to be interesting to
see how they handle it after the PTB as well.
Yeah, if there could be changes to those perks. I would love if they deleted some of the perks and just rethought some of the survive ones and added some different ones in. Yeah. I can't tell you what I want them to add because I'm not a game designer, and I don't. We can sit here and say all that stuff, but we're just speculating.
Yeah.
We don't know the ins and outs. But overall, I think I am, I think I am excited for the chapter to come out. I love, playing with different survivors, even though they're just skins. It's really cool to have such an iconic game series in the game. And my hope is that it does bring new people and that those people fall in love with the game like I did, and they continue to play the game for years to come. And it gets better and better. Obviously, I'm very optimistic.
You have a very optimistic mind.
And you might call me naive, and that I'm in the clouds, but I think there's always got to be someone has to be optimistic.
Well, I'm glad there's someone because I say there's just not a bone in my body that's just ever excited. Like I always get asked that question, are you excited for this, are you excited for that? I said I'm never excited about anything new DVD bring in. Never. Yeah. That's just how it is. I'm never excited about it.
Oh well, yeah. Let's let's see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Thanks so much for chatting to me today, Nalopia. It's been really good to get to know you on a little bit more of a personal level, but also share our passion for Dead by Daylight.
Thanks for allowing me to come on and appreciate it.
Guys, make sure you go and check out Nalopia. She's on Twitch, TikTok, YouTube. Go and check her out because she will become one of your favorite streamers, I can guarantee it. To end off the episode, I know how much you like hearing mine and Quixie's thoughts on the shrine. Obviously, Quixie isn't here, so I'm more than happy to give you my thoughts, a little rundown on the shrine perks. So let's just get stuck in and talk straight away about the survivor perks. The first perk we have is Lithe. So after performing a rushed vault, you break into a sprint at 150% of your normal running speed for a maximum of 3 seconds. So essentially, you vault through a window. A rushed vault is a fast vault while you're sprinting, and you get sprint burst. So this helps you escape away from loops when you're not safe, or gain some distance on the killer when you simply just want to get away. Lithe is an exhaustion perk, so it means once it is used, it will take you at the most 60 seconds, at least 40 seconds for your exhaustion to come back. Obviously, exhaustion recharges when you are doing anything other than sprinting. So this is a good perk like Dead Hard, like Sprint Burst. It helps you get out of those sticky situations and transition into a different section of the map. While Lithe is a perk that is available on Feng Min, who can be bought through iridescent shards, 2,000 iridescent shards for an exhaustion perk like Lithe, really, really good value. I would suggest if you're not going to get another character anytime soon, jump on Lithe. It's a really, really good purchase. The second survivor perk on the shrine is For the People. This is a Zarina perk and can be really helpful when you're at full health. What the perk does is it heals another survivor instantly for 1 health state. This can be from dying to injured or injured to full health. The one constant is that you must be full health when trying to attempt this on another survivor. When you are healing another survivor, you do press whatever your active ability button is without a medkit, and you will instantly heal them. This will cause you to become broken, so you will be injured and you will not be able to heal for 90 seconds. So that's 1.5 minutes where you're vulnerable. This does also make you become the obsession, so if the killer has any obsession perks, then you will become the focus of those perks. This perk can be quite fun to use with a group of friends when you're picking each other up off the ground or doing quick heals and kind of joking around, but it can be quite strong because it can catch the killer off guard. I would say if you're not going to purchase Zarina and you want to have a little bit of fun, then grab this, but Zarina is quite a fun survivor to play, so I would say just grab Zarina instead. Now onto the killer perks. So Beast of Prey is the first killer perk we're going to be talking about. So your lust for a kill is so intense that your connection with the entity is momentarily lost, making you totally unpredictable. So upon gaining Bloodlust Tier 1, you are granted the undetectable status effect for as long as Bloodlust is active. Now what does this mean? This means that while in chase, as soon as you have chased a survivor for 15 seconds, you will gain Bloodlust Tier 1. This will make you undetectable, so like a Michael Myers in his first stage where he has no terror radius. A Tinkerer effect, essentially, coming from Beast of Prey. Now this does sound great, but you are in chase, so the survivor already knows that you're chasing them. This can actually come in handy when you are at an area that has walls and you can break line of sight, because the survivor won't see your red glow, and they also won't hear the heartbeat, obviously, because they're in chase, and you can catch them off guard. This is more of a meme perk. It does also grant you a % bonus in the hunter category, so it can be helpful to get those blood points that you might be missing out on in the hunter category. I would say it's a bit of a meme perk, it's a bit of a fun perk. It is a huntress perk, so you can get it just by leveling up the huntress. But if huntress doesn't interest you, I'd say grab this if you want to have a little bit of fun. It's fun to catch survivors off guard with completely random perks. I'd say just give it a go. Now the last perk on the shrine, and definitely the best one, is Corrupt Intervention. Now this is a plague perk and this is a meta perk. So meta meaning you will see this in 80-90% of your games that you go against high level killers. So your prayers invoke a dark power that meddles with survivors' chance of survival. So at the start of the trial, the 3 generators that are located the farthest from you are blocked by the entity for 2 minutes at its highest level. That means the survivors usually spawn the furthest away from you, so when they spawn, They are located next to 3 generators that they cannot complete. Now, what this does is it forces survivors towards you. It also means that you get a little bit of a hold on the gen progression so that the gens aren't flying out the window as soon as the game starts. This is really, really helpful for killers that have slow starts, like Trapper, Hag, that need to set up their game, even like Michael Myers, needing to tier up, that kind of thing. It can be extra powerful on killers like Nurse, Wraith, that have quite a fast movement speed or an ability to get across the map quite quickly, and then basically take a hold of the game in that 2 minutes, and set the tone. This perk can actually stop you from needing to use any gen regression, so Ruin or Pop Goes the Weasel or something like that. Corrupt Intervention is that strong that if you get a good enough start in your Corrupt time, in that 2 minutes, you can snowball the game from right there. So survivors will normally play pretty smart around it. Sometimes they'll try and hide, they'll stealth around the map. But yeah, it is definitely one of the best perks to be running these days, as gens do seem to just go absolutely crazily fast. But yeah, I would say if you're not going to get Plague, this is your number one perk. This is the perk that you grab off the shrine whenever it's available. For sure, jump on this and enjoy your killer games with this, because you will be finding it a lot easier to get a foothold in the game. And I can guarantee you that you will, even at your worst games, you'll still do better than without it. So that's it for me for this episode. Obviously, I've been Deaxz. Hopefully, Quixie will be back. He's expecting to be back when the Resident Evil chapter releases, so June 15th. So we may get another couple of episodes with me soloing it out with a friend or a guest on to chat about the game. There is so much information coming. There is the Year 6 roadmap. There is so many changes and great things for the game that they have planned. So if you haven't played Dead by Daylight and you've randomly found this podcast, get into the game. If you're still on the fence or you've been playing for a long time, hold out. The game is going to keep getting more fun and more enjoyable. So definitely don't give up yet. But if you love the game, then I'm happy to help, and I'm glad, and I hope that you enjoyed the episode. If you do want to know where you can find me, jump on Twitch, search up Deaxz93, search up EasyQuix. He'll be back on Twitch soon. And of course, make sure you guys, again, go and follow Nalopia. She's an amazing content creator and definitely worth your time. To everyone that did listen this far, I thank you again. Apologies again for the long time between episodes, but we'll try and make sure that doesn't happen again. For the rest of the week, enjoy the fog, get those shrine perks, and I'll see you in the next one.